Calaroga Shark Media.
Hi there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. I will talk about this David Letterman guy. He had Adam Sandler on his show. We'll talk about it in the second half. I'm starting to wonder now, have I been on the wrong team for the last 30-something years? Should I have been Team J the whole time? Has Dave lost his way? We'll get into that. The true king of 1230, Conan O'Brien, he's going to be on the Rest is History podcast. That is a fantastic podcast. If you've never listened to that one, they're doing an episode about the Beatles. Have you been watching the new version of Anthology on Disney Plus? Well, I haven't because, that would be supporting fascism. But I heard some other people are watching it, and they're saying it's really good and that they've upscaled the video. But, of course, I don't do such things. I go upstairs and I watch the 1995 DVDs of Anthology. The Rest is History is doing a two-part special. Conan O'Brien said, they were singer-songwriters who wrote their own music and in so many ways broke the mold. Most groups at the time had a clear frontman. Dion and the Bellmounts, for example, and there was a real pressure on them to follow that model. For a moment, they were even Johnny and the Moondogs, but they always knew they were a group. Now, as I'm rewatching the 1995 Anthology DVDs, up until like 65, it really is John Lennon and the guys. And then I actually believe in the Paul is dead theory. I think Billy Shears, who, are you familiar with this? Paul is dead, replaced by a lookalike. Some people refer to him as Billy Shears. Some refer to him as William Campbell. But whoever the replacement Paul McCartney is, that guy is a Hall of Famer. Because if you accept the theory as true, which of course it is, William Campbell, Billy Shears, has had a Hall of Fame career. If you just look at the late Beatles stuff after John kind of checked out, and then all the stuff from Wings and the solo years, fake Paul McCartney has put out a body of work that the real Paul McCartney couldn't touch. I mean, it really was John Lennon and the Beatles up until basically the replacement. Think about it. Get your DVDs out, watch the original Anthology, don't support fascism, and you'll see what I mean. I digress. Conan said the Beatles single-handedly brought us from black and white to color. The volume of work they have is incredible. They remain as relevant today as they were in 1964. And I'm proud of you guys. I thought I was going to have to get on here today and lecture everyone. This Jim Gaffigan Bourbon video, it has now leveled off. It is steady at 3.5 million views. That means either the algorithm has slowed it down or you guys came to your senses and stopped watching this thing, and I thank you for that. I did notice it has 3.5 million views, but only 27,000 likes. I was curious, is that a lot of likes? It doesn't seem like a lot of likes, but I asked ChatGPT, who said, short answer, yes. That's solid, not spectacular, but definitely not bad. Here's how it breaks down, according to ChatGPT. A typical YouTube like rate is around 0.5% to 2%. Jim Gaffigan's video is at 0.77%. That's comfortably within the normal band. Chat says for a video with 3.5 million views, the platform average would put you somewhere between 17,500 likes and 70,000 likes. Again, the Bourbon video has 27,000. Chat says 27,000 sits in the lower middle range. Respectable engagement, especially if the content isn't something that naturally drives people to smash the like button. What it usually means is people watch the video but didn't feel a strong emotional push to interact. The reach is high, views, but the engagement intent might be mild. Still totally healthy, nothing to worry about. Kevin Hart has put out his Mount Rushmore of comedians. Now, any Mount Rushmore of comedians is so complicated because, where do you start? I usually start somewhere around Lenny Bruce, George Carlin in the 60s, because how do you really compare modern stand-up to what people did in, say, vaudeville? It doesn't work. So I will tell you who Kevin Hart picked, and then you can lose your mind about it, and whatever. It's just a guy saying, here's 4 comedians I like. On that note, Billboard has put out their list of the top stand-up comedians of the 21st century. I have not looked at it at all. I shared it in the Facebook group, which is Daily Comedy News Podcast Group. I want to save that because that is candidly perfect holiday weekend filler, like Christmas weekend. I believe Christmas is a Thursday, so I dropped this in for the Sunday, but I am curious about it. I might actually record that day's show right after this, just so I know who they did. And if I do that, I'll drop it early for the paid subscribers. So, we have this whole plus thing. If you would like this show without commercial interruption and the occasional early episode, what you do is you open up Apple Podcasts. There's a banner there. It says uninterrupted listening. You click that, $5 a month. You get this show and most everything else here on the Calaroga Shark Network, including 5 Good News Stories, which I host as well. You get all that commercial-free, $5 a month, great way to support the show. And again, if I have my act together, I'll drop that second episode for the paid people shortly. I'm having some microphone problems today. I had to go into the shoebox here in the studio and find an old adapter. I have a USB-C to USB-A adapter, so I can use the microphone on my MacBook, and the one I've been using all year kind of crapped out, but I found an old one. It seems like we're steady. I digress. You don't care about any of that. Kevin Hart, his Mount Rushmore of comedy. Kevin Hart said Pryor always is on there first, and his other three picks, Eddie Murphy, Dave Chappelle, and Chris Rock. Again, I almost went on a diatribe about how Eddie Murphy is just a Richard Pryor cover act, even though I love him. But I'm not taking the bait. We can debate this all day. So sure, Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock. Why not build a mountain, put their face up on it? I don't care. Hart explained Chris Rock is someone who became a multi-hyphenate in the business of entertainment, but still stayed true to the craft. Dave Chappelle is just the voice of comedy today. Eddie Murphy showed what a star looked like. And he did not elaborate, nor does anyone need to, on the greatness of Richard Pryor. On most lists, Richard Pryor and George Carlin finish 1 or 2, depending on who made the list. There was a time when Louis C.K. was being compared to George Carlin as the modern-day George Carlin. You don't hear that so much anymore. Louis, who is, so canceled. I mean, he did the naughty stuff, and then he went to Riyadh, and everyone's just mad at him. Well, he's on the New York Times bestsellers list for hardcover fiction titles. Who's buying this book? Someone is. CK went on Instagram and wrote, "Hello, I want to share the happy news that my debut novel, Ingram, has hit the New York Times bestseller list number 14. It's been a very rich experience having it out in the world and hearing how much people like it. You can order Ingram, hardcover, ebook, or audiobook at the link in my bio." Now I'm curious. Let's see what else is on the list. What am I looking for here? New York Times bestseller list, but it's a subdivision, right? Bestseller, hardcover, fiction titles. All right, New York Times bestseller, hardcover fiction. Here is the list. Oh, look, as I record this, a little after 3 on Tuesday, no longer on the list. Oh, no. I'm looking, they have the top 15 here, and I'm not seeing Louis C.K. on here, so I guess it was a little bit of a shooting star there. And for the second time today, sanity is resuming here in the world of comedy. You stopped watching Gaffigan, you stopped buying Louis C.K. books. Next thing, you'll come around on Adam Sandler being a great dramatic actor and a terrible comedian. You'll come around. I'm having a good day here. This is much better than the week's been going up until now. If you're curious, Louis said he's going to be at the Barnes & Noble bookstore at the Grove in Los Angeles for a book signing on December 6th. Dustin Nickerson was quite happy that the Carolina Panthers beat the Los Angeles Rams. That's right, Panthers 31, Rams 28. But you see, Dustin Nickerson is a fan of the Seahawks. Now, all these teams are in the 49ers' way. Well, not the Panthers, but Nickerson, the Seahawks fan, posted, "Dear Carolina Panthers, thank you sincerely, Seahawks fans." Jim Gaffigan stuck at 3.5 million views. He was on Jimmy Kimmel's show and said he doesn't think of himself as dumb. "I do dumb things." Let me talk hypothetically. Here's how dumb men are. I'm going to think of a hypothetical man. Let's say a football coach. Let's say an NFL coach. Let's say this football coach has won 5 Super Bowls. This is quite funny. And let's say he had this legacy. And let's say this brilliant mastermind had his legacy destroyed by a 24-year-old social media manager. Kimmel cuts in and goes, "This is all hypothetical." Gaffigan says, "Yeah, hypothetically speaking." Now, maybe they're in love. He's 73, she's 24. I know some people have an issue with that, and those people are called women. But, guys hear that age and hey, love is love, right? My point is, she's not evil, he's dumb. And now my dogs are barking. Guys, I just fixed the microphone. I'm just trying to get through a show today. Maria Bamford caught up with Nuyo.net. She was talking about late night and said, in 1999, "I think I was on Conan. I didn't feel good at all. I felt so scared. I was surprised by that because I thought, isn't this supposed to feel great when your dreams come true? But I felt very bad and super scared. It went fine. It was 3.5 or 4 minutes of time. I didn't grow up with entertainment in my family, so I think I associated this weird magic with it. Like, oh, if it's on TV, then it's a bigger deal than real life. And it turns out real life is almost exactly like TV." Nuyo asked her about Colbertgate and Kimmelgate. Bamford said, "Well, the sad thing is people don't notice the lack of free speech until it starts affecting white males. It seems like our country is just not itself anymore because there's fear of retribution. I mean, people get death threats now for saying what they believe. I've had that myself. I did this goofy thing where I filed a restraining order against Trump so he couldn't come within 100 feet of my house. I put that on social media because I thought it was funny, and he is an unregistered sex offender, so there's no reason to be afraid of him. But then as soon as I posted that, I had death threats and people saying, 'I know where you live.' That's just so sad. So I think it's gotten where you go, oh, even the privileged are being effective." And she laughed and said, "Which I don't think anybody who's black, brown, or has any other minority experience is going to be surprised by how quickly your freedoms are taken away." Let's head on over to Gossip Corner. Amy Schumer does like us to talk about her, so we shall. You got it, Amy. Amy went on Instagram to update everybody about the rumors of, is she splitting up with her husband Chris? She wrote, "Fingers crossed we make it through. Whatever ends up happening with me and Chris has nothing to do with weight loss or autism. Fingers crossed we make it through. He's the best." Schumer jumped in on the comments and wrote, "Sorry for whatever feeling it's giving you that I've lost weight. I've had plastic surgery over the years and I use a Mounjaro. Sorry to anyone that lets down. I'm pain-free."
16 comedians, one island, and in the end, only one thing matters: your vote. Alliances will form, bits will evolve, Johnny Mac will beat recurring jokes to their breaking point. 16 comedians, one recurring bit, one survivor. This January on Daily Comedy News, outbit, outlaugh, outlast. This is Comedy Survivor.
That's right. Jump in the Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Podcast Group, and give me your nominees for who should be on the island as we do this in January. I'm going to close the nominations sometime, let's call it midnight as Thursday turns into Friday, so I can record Monday's episode and tell you who will be on the island. I welcome your nominations. Mike chimed in. He argued for Pete Davidson and says, because his name always comes up. That's true. Also a good nomination from Mike for Kevin Hart. Mike points out, because if there ever was a Comedy Survivor, Kevin won't be too busy for it. That's right, he likes to work. He also suggested Colin Jost, because the furry thing isn't going away. Interesting. Plus, we could make boat jokes. Mary kind of gets the joke and wrote, "Where's Seth Meyers?" And I wrote back, "Is that a nomination?" So I think she understands the whole thing. Out today, Tom Allen's Absolutely Live is on the 800-Pound Gorilla site. And let's get to the meat of things. I didn't want to put a big roadblock at the top of the show. I think pretty much everyone is now on board realizing that Adam Sandler is one of the great dramatic actors of our time. And this movie, Jay Kelly, which is on Netflix Friday night, I'm actually disappointed. I have a wedding Friday night, so I can't watch Adam Sandler's movie Friday night. Hopefully Saturday night I'll get to it. But this weekend is December 7th, as you know, is the anniversary of Star Trek The Motion Picture, which I watch every single year on or about December 7th. So I don't know when I'm going to get to, despite the greatness of Adam Sandler. But I think we all agree, Adam Sandler, one of the great dramatic actors of our time, one of the worst comedians who ever was. And this brings me to David Letterman. So David Letterman is already on the wrong side of making 12:30 great again. So I think we just have to just look at Dave and realize he got old and has lost his way. And now he's out interviewing Adam Sandler about comedy rather than acting. And what are you doing, Dave? I mean, Dave has lost his way. So this reminds me, I'm a Jimmy Buffett fan. And at one point, there was a group that called themselves the Church of Buffett Orthodox. They began to distance themselves from Jimmy Buffett because Jimmy Buffett was about Margaritaville restaurants and selling product and knockoff Corona beers, and everything was just sell, 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 sell. And they thought that Jimmy Buffett, the man, had gotten away from Jimmy Buffett, the message, which was, I'm just sitting in the sand having a good time. And they didn't like the monetization of everything. So they started the Church of Buffett Orthodox. And now I'm wondering if we have to start the Church of Letterman Orthodox. Those of us, the true believers who understand that 12:30 David Letterman was great, 11:30 David Letterman was okay, and now I don't know what's happening. He does not want to make 12:30 great again, supporting Seth Meyers, and now interviewing Adam Sandler about comedy. Now, I didn't watch this yet. The real thing that happened is I was sitting in the comfy chair, and I fell asleep, and I woke up, and it was 1:30 in the morning. So I haven't actually watched My Next Guest Needs No Introduction, or whatever that show's called on the Netflix. Decider saw it, and they gave it a review and said, the interview itself starts chronologically enough. We find out about Adam Sandler's time at NYU, where people told him he was funny. Sandler appearing in an early episode of The Cosby Show with that Bill Cosby guy. Yeah, what's that about? Should we look into this? Sandler played Theo's friend Smitty. And of course, then Lorne Michaels, in one of the really bad decisions in Lorne Michaels' great career, he puts Adam Sandler on SNL. Now, finally, there's a chunk where Letterman wakes the hell up and focuses on Sandler's dramatic turns in Punch Drunk Love and Uncut Gems. Hopefully, I haven't seen it yet. Letterman asks him about the basketball movie and the space movie. Decider tells us the structure of the episode isn't linear, and the conversations sometimes overlap with Sandler repeating stories in slightly different ways. More awkward, though, Letterman veering off course multiple times in their conversation of spotlight work Sandler has done for Netflix this year, including Happy Gilmore 2. Ugh, awful. The folks over at Parade magazine watched it, and they focused on a story Sandler told about his grandmother. There's a big story in my house. I was in Florida visiting, and I took a shower in the morning, and I did my day, and that night I was taking another shower, and my grandmother said, "You take a lot of showers?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, I think you're, entertaining yourself up there. Sandler says he did not use that anecdote in his very first stand-up set, but also says I was devastatingly bad and nobody laughed. I mean, yeah, that's not hard to believe at all. We've also learned, Sandler says, I say so many things about my wife and kids that aren't true. I make stuff up and make it goofy at the end of the show. I like to remind my audience that none of it is true, and I love my wife. I think during the show, when I'm saying things about her, she must go, let's move on. And we also learned from Sandler's appearance on the Drew Barrymore show that wife Jackie and Drew Barrymore, who is the co-star in some of the very few watchable Adam Sandler movies, they're trying to get Adam to lose weight, which is funny because I'm actually dieting this week and I'm not doing a bit. I'm down 4 pounds already. Why are you dieting, John? Because John found out, my physical's at the end of this week, and as I've been joking to my family, I have to lose 25 pounds in 5 days. Hey, I lost 4. Drew Barrymore asked the great actor Adam Sandler. I heard that Jennifer Aniston is part of Jackie, Sonny, and Sadie's crusade for you to eat healthy. What is this? I've seen your pantry. It's pretty healthy. Sandler joked his wife bought groceries, so every milk has some sort of nut involved, and he switched to healthy cereal. Jay Kelly, a dramatic role by Adam Sandler, out on Netflix on Friday. David Letterman, get it together, pal. And that is your comedy news for today. See you tomorrow.